I know what you're thinking. I've come to the theater to see a classic murder mystery, complete with the standard tropes that accompany such a piece. You're right. That is why you've come. But what if one playwright once thought to herself, I wrote a murder mystery within a murder mystery? It'd be like the inception of murder mysteries. She then got so caught up in her own self-congratulatory pretentiousness that time passed and the idea was forgotten. Until now, when sometime later she remembered that she once had an idea that would be a fun and slightly innovative take on an already been done format. And that is why she wrote this play. I am the narrator, a theatrical demigod for all intents and purposes. Allow me to introduce you to tonight's players. This is our host, the Spinster. She's not actually a spinster in real life, or IRL, as the millennials say. She's married to the general, who, in case it's not yet clear, is not really a general. In real life, the spinster is actually an author herself and drafted up a murder mystery one afternoon while she was home alone, marinating in her own self-pity at the fact that she was failing miserably at her craft. She assembled a small group of friends, assigned them all characters and goals and secrets and tasks, and then asked her husband if it would be okay to host a party. He begrudgingly accepted after she showed him 4 very excited RSVPs to her little cosplay.
What? This is not a cosplay.
Webster's dictionary defines cosplay as the activity or practice of dressing up from a character in a work of fiction. Are you a spinster?
Well, not IRL.
So you're a fictional spinster?
Well, I guess when you put it that way.
Cosplay.
Whatever.
In our fictional tale, the spinster is just another party guest invited to the luxurious Hawthorne Manor by a mysterious host. Isn't that how these things always go down? It's as though no one has ever outsmarted Agatha Christie herself, and they always resort back to her original formula. But I digress.
I received a letter from an old friend of mine asking me to attend this party.
My God, that accent is terrible.
I haven't seen her in some years, but she assured me in the letter that there would be nothing foolish or youthful about the gathering, and that appealed very greatly to my modest and sophisticated taste. The clues I were given were not to drink my drink during the toast at dinner, and that the doctor has been guilty of malpractice.
Which brings us to the doctor. A charming and handsome woman, the doctor archetype is often representative of safety in an otherwise dangerous situation. And how clever of our spinsterly author to create a doctor who is anything but.
I was urgently called about to tend to a sick child, but from the look of it, there are no children here. Something is off, yes, indeed. My prime goal is to drug the drinks at the toast, so that everyone will fall asleep and I may search their belongings. I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for.
The jewels!
What?
Did you read the Google Doc I sent you? God damn it. You're supposed to search all our belongings for the precious missing jewels.
I am to drug the drinks at the toast so that everyone will fall asleep and I may search their belongings for the precious missing jewels.
Riveting. Next up is the scientist, a charismatic and flamboyant man on the verge of insanity who
has stolen the precious jewels. Through the ancient art of alchemy, I will convert the Hawthorne diamonds into gold, making them more valuable. And with my newfound wealth, I will be able to buy, diamonds for the woman of my dreams. My secret, you want to know? My secret is that I am obsessively in love with the doctor. I know of her work, though. She knows not of mine.
And now it's time for the aforementioned general. This is taking forever.
Colonel Hawthorne and I served in the war together and have remained cronies since, let's see.
Which war?
I beg your pardon?
Which war did you and Colonel Hawthorne serve in?
Well, the war.
Oh, the war. Really hitting out of the park there with the details, Spinster.
I feel so attacked right now.
Anyway, I was notified to come here quickly because there were details from the war that had surfaced that he wanted to discuss immediately. My task is to figure out which of these party guests is not who they say they are.
I wonder, could it perhaps be the actor?
Hello, all. I am Taylor Windermere Foster Dowry Mekelburg, Esquire III, also known as the actor.
What? No names. This is supposed to be anonymous.
It's called making a choice. As I was saying, I'm an actor who was hired by way of talent agency to provide entertainment at this party this evening. My secret is that I walk in on the doctor popping pills and blackmail her for money. But who cares about that? Let's talk more about me. My credits include a long line of things that are very exciting, and I've worked alongside some huge names and live a very expensive lifestyle. As you can see from my outfit, this beret comes from the jungles of Asia, a rare pink lynx that I saw one day.
Moving on. Next up is the musician, who you ought not hear say too much this evening. And finally, we have the servant.
I've worked for Colonel Hawthorne and his wife for over 10 years now, and have always been absolutely loyal. Recently, however, I have entered a romantic relationship with a certain someone. My secret is that someone is at this party.
The servant is the murderer.
Do you mind?
It's not like they'd have been surprised. I read your script. It's rubbish.
Who even are you?
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, and all beyond and in between. Each party guest was instructed via Google Doc to meet in the pool house, change into their costumes, pick up their scripts, and most importantly, leave behind their cell phones. Without further ado, let the evening begin.
Miss Justin, a lunatic by the name of Heather Henderson, has escaped from Bloodthorn Sanitarium after brutally murdering several staff members. This woman should be regarded as dangerous. And
My word!
Good heavens! What fun!
What is wrong with you?
I'm just saying, it's just the sort of thing you'd expect to hear on an evening such as this. 6 strangers all invited to the estate under mysterious circumstances.
Not so mysterious, I should say. I've known Colonel Hawthorne quite well at that. It's been some years since we've seen each other, but I can certainly verify his existence.
Can anyone else?
Of course I can. The Colonel and his wife were expected to join us for dinner, but encountered car trouble on their way back from London. They were at the theatre. They're expected some time after the meal and have provided a toast I'm to make. If you excuse me now, I must get on with dinner.
Mere woman.
That's a terribly rude thing to say.
Not in general. If you'll see a lady to the terrace, I would like to watch the sun set before dinner.
Of course, Madam Spinster, so long as you don't mind my smoking.
I come from a rigid military family, General. I'm quite comfortable in the presence of cigar smoke.
Better things to smoke, I say.
He pulls a small bag of marijuana from his coat pocket.
This is the perfect time for me to steal the Hawthorne jewels. It's quite clear that I'm off to a rocky start with the doctor, but like all women, I should think her affections can be bought by things that are expensive and shiny. Now I just need to locate.
Exit, stage left.
Thank you, my friend.
And so phase 1 of the party has been initiated. The spinster will pry the general for clues as to why the party has been thrown in the first place, and the general will deflect all her questions back at her in hopes that she'll slip up and reveal that she's a spy for the Russians or something. The scientist will succeed in stealing the Hawthorne jewels while the servant makes the final touches to dinner. The actor and the musician have just finished their toque and have separated to wander the estate, marveling at all of its expensive and luxurious decor, which leaves us now with the doctor.
Oh, it's never going to work. Silly of me to think otherwise. Oh, it's never going to work.
Popping pills, eh, Doctor?
Excuse me, you shouldn't have snuck up on me. It isn't proper.
You made mention that you were here to tend to the Hawthorne sick child, is that right?
It is why I was beckoned, though I should hardly think such a child exists.
At any rate, you're on the job.
I suppose technically I am on the job.
I hardly think it proper for a doctor to be under any sort of influence.
They're just aspirin.
Took an awful lot. I expect it's aspirin, and with such an awful lot in your system, that you won't be taking any drink with your dinner?
Well, they're not aspirin per se.
Ah, so they are something else. Tell me, Doctor, what sort of pill might one pop so freely without going a bit loopy?
If you mean to threaten me, get on with it.
I enjoy the recreational use of drugs as much as the next bloke, Doctor. You needn't worry.
I thank you.
I shan't think it will be free for you, though.
You mean to blackmail me?
My, we have spent a great deal of time discussing the obvious, have we not?
Oh, indeed.
You hush now.
I suppose you'll be wanting a cut?
Oh, good heavens, no. I simply want to move the story along. Go on and blackmail her then.
Don't mind if I do.
Suddenly, a scream from the hall. All rush to find the servant, who is hysterical.
The jewels!
What?
They're missing!
What?
The jewels? What jewels?
The Hawthorne family jewels! They're kept on display in the study. I went in there to fetch the port from the liqueur cabinet, and the display glass was shattered and the jewels missing.
Well, it seems only right that we should each submit to a search.
I'll allow no such thing. No one should think that I would commit such a heinous and unladylike crime.
Can't say there's anything more ladylike than idolizing jewels.
You are a despicable man.
Despicably handsome.
We'll phone for the police. Then we might as well sit down to dinner, after which the police will surely have arrived and they will ensure a search is made, both of the grounds and of each of us.
Onward to dinner, then. I'm quite famished.
I imagine you are.
The lights fade to black and rise on the dining room, where all are seated. Most have their food in front of them. The servant enters with the last 2 plates and sets them down. The musician plays a gentle melody to underscore the dinner.
Back momentarily with a decanter of port. I forgot the one thing in all the commotion that I went into the study for.
Me, madame. Do take a seat and join us.
It wouldn't be proper.
No, it would not.
I insist. We shan't make a fuss about it. Isn't that right, Madame Spinster? What the Colonel doesn't know won't hurt him.
Queer sort that Colonel must be.
Why do you say that?
Inviting us here, like this, each for a different purpose, and then doesn't show.
The doctor made mention of a sick child. Do you know the Hawthorns too have children, General?
It's been some years since we spoke, but no mention of a child has ever been made.
Port as requested.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Oh, only 6 glasses? Aren't you forgetting someone?
He motions toward the servant.
Yes, since all decency seems to have gone out the window, why not liquor the girl up?
I only suggested she should be able to eat with us. I hardly think she'll be able to maintain her duties under the influence of drink.
Nor on a full stomach. The girl is likely to nod off, leaving us each to our own devices.
I can imagine your apprehension. You've never had a husband to take care of, so domestic responsibilities must be quite foreign to you. Eh, Madame Spinster?
How unbelievably rude you are!
If you'll all raise your glasses, I have a toast here I am to make before dinner.
Get on with it then. I'm hungry.
I could have sworn I wrote it down and stuck it in my apron.
Quickly, my dear girl, my arm is growing tired.
I seem to have misplaced it.
Typical.
Might you do it from memory?
I wish I could, but with the shock of the jewels being stolen, my mind is entirely blank.
Blank you here, and to think you wanted to liquor the stupid creature up.
I
The
must.
servant lowers the decanter and exits the room. The doctor lowers her glass and follows after.
I must insist, Madam Spinster, that you refrain from speaking to the girl in such a manner. Hear, hear.
All drink except for the spinster. One by one, their heads drop to their plates. When they've all dropped, the spinster stands.
You mustn't pay her any mind, my dear.
She's a foul, unfeeling woman.
Exactly so.
She pulls the servant in by the hips.
She'll never know kindness or friendship or love.
She kisses the servant.
No, I suppose you're right.
She detaches from the doctor.
Just in case someone comes.
They won't come. I've drugged them. It's my duty to make a search for the missing jewels.
Lights rise on the spinster in the dining room, searching the pocket of the scientist.
Well, that's the last one. As a matter of fact, it's not. Where went that stubborn doctor?
He creeps towards the hall.
And so that's it.
Yes, that's the entire plan.
It's brilliant. Do you think it will work?
Do we think what will work, my dear?
Madame Spinster, I didn't hear you approach.
Yes, well, it's just that the others seem to have been drugged. They're all passed out in their potatoes.
You don't say.
Indeed I do, Doctor. It would appear that someone had tampered with the port.
Who would?
Yes, exactly my question. Who?
I'll check their pulses. Perhaps I ought to check their pockets as well to see if I can find the drug on any one of them.
No need, Doctor. I already did. No sign of drugs or the missing jewels.
Should I ring the police? Again?
I think you've done quite enough, you stupid girl.
The others stumble from the dining room, having awakened from their sleep.
Oh, if that isn't the damnedest thing.
One of them must have drugged us.
Not likely. Surely one of us drugged everyone, so as not to appear suspicious.
Suspicious of what?
Of stealing the
jewels.
jewels!
And my heart, you sweet, beautiful medicine woman.
It's the damned servant girl, I would swear to it.
Oh, leave that poor girl alone. You know, Madam Spinster, I would wager my money on you as the thief.
Sergeant General, how could you?
Maybe it was you, General.
Me? Good heavens!
That's right. Why not? You've known the Colonel, so you would have known exactly where to look.
But I was with you.
I mean, it's probably the scientist.
Him? But he's a joke.
Why am I a joke to you?
It seems pretty obvious.
Maybe you slipped away while I was knitting. I was off for a moment, and you could have easily slipped away.
Oh, good God, woman, you're absolutely mad.
I'm telling you, it's got to be him. He's a raving lunatic, can't you tell?
Stop all the fighting! Stop it!
I'm telling you, the one person I know didn't steal the jewels is that fool of a scientist.
I did steal them!
The lights go out. The upstage door flies open. A strobing spotlight catches the murderer standing behind the servant, knife held high. The murderer begins to stab the servant mercilessly. She screams in agonizing pain and is finally dragged through the upstage door, which slams shut. Lights out. End of scene 1. All are gathered in the hall except the doctor and the musician. Some hold a glass of whiskey. Others are smoking cigars and cigarettes.
I wish you would take that damn cigarette outside. I don't want our house to smell like smoke.
You didn't seem to have a problem with it earlier.
I don't have a problem with it outside.
There are bigger things to worry about right now.
This house is unsaleable now anyways. Someone's died in here and you're worried about the goddamn cigarette smoke?
I've called the police, but they're sending someone. They want us to stay in here until they arrive.
We're expected to just sit here with a fucking psycho running around.
We've locked all the doors and searched the house. Whoever that monster is, he's not in here.
Of course you assume it's a man.
You saw the way that fucker gutted Nadine. You really think a woman could do that?
I could.
But would you?
Of course not.
Then why the fuck are we even talking about it?
Do you think this was part of some master plan?
What do you mean?
Just that we were all invited here tonight, as friends, by friends, to play a game. Is this part of your script?
There is blood all over a $400 rug, and you're asking me if this is part of my goddamn game?
I was just curious.
I read her script. This was not part of it.
Who was supposed to be the killer?
Does it really matter now?
It might. I mean, the radio broadcast earlier about the escaped criminal, that was scripted, right?
Yes.
And then an actual lunatic appears and an actual murder takes place. It just feels like too much of a coincidence.
Are you people out of your fucking minds? Are you so egotistical that you think I'm trying to outsmart you to the point of ruining my goddamn party?
I'm going to be sick.
Like I said, I read the original script. The servant was the killer, and now Nadine is dead. The whole thing is off kilter because what's happening now is real. For God's sakes, Quinn, take it outside!
No,
Now!
If this whole thing is supposed to be real, can you explain why you just sent your wife outside when there's a murderer on the loose? Is the lingering smell of smoke really worth her life?
Oh, shit.
We really should all stay together.
Hell with that. I'm going to get high on the porch and watch them fight some more.
Asshole. I guess I'll wait here for the detective.
I can't.
What? What's the matter?
Parker,
What about Parker?
he's dead!
What? Good God.
The scientist stands and motions for the doctor to follow. They exit toward the dining room. When the stage is empty, the musician enters as a ghost and crosses to the orchestra pit, where he joins the orchestra. They play for a moment before the general re-enters, met by the doctor and the scientist in the hall.
That woman will be the death of me.
Parker is dead.
Oh, what do you mean Parker is dead?
How else could she mean, Stephen? I was on my way to the bathroom and I nearly tripped over the body. Gutted, just like Nadine.
Quinn, Jesse, you need to come in immediately.
I'm still smoking.
Bring it in with you. It's not safe.
Did something happen?
Parker is dead.
When was the last time we saw Parker alive?
He was in the other room with me when I called the police. You all can't seriously think I killed Parker.
It stands to reason.
Bullshit. You all know I didn't kill Nadine. I think we're all exonerated from suspicion. We need to stick together. Obviously, Parker stayed behind for some reason.
For what reason?
I don't fucking know, for some reason. And the killer must have gotten to him by the time that I was sitting...
That means he's in the house!
Jesus, we're not safe in or out. Ah! I guess I'll get it. Quinn, come with me. It's probably the police, but I don't want to go alone.
Baby, I'm scared.
I know. Me too.
This is ridiculous. You don't think we'll be held here?
They'll probably ask for our account of the evening.
Should we go over it so that we all have the same story?
But we do all have the same story. We all saw the same thing.
I didn't see what you did when you were alone with Parker.
Please do not start telling the police that you think I'm a fucking murderer, especially when you know full and well that there's an actual murderer on the grounds.
Is this a joke to you, Jesse? 2 of our friends are dead.
I'm allowed to handle these deaths in whatever way I feel safe.
Enter the General, the Spinster, and Detective Narracott.
Evening, everyone. I understand there's been a murder.
Who? After we called you, another body was found. Our friend, Parker McNew. The body is through there.
She motions toward the dining room.
I see. Did any of you witness the murder?
I found Parker's body, but I didn't see the actual murder.
Well, who was the last person to see Mr. McNew alive?
That would be me. I was on the phone with the station, and when I left to rejoin the others, I guess Parker lingered behind or something.
Where's your partner? Isn't it odd for you to arrive alone?
He's on medical leave. Now, I think it would be best if I spoke to each one of you individually.
Here? Can we go to the station or whatever and be questioned there?
Here will be fine.
There is an active fucking murderer running around and you want us to hole up here.
It's fine, Jesse. Calm down. Where would you like us to wait? We can all sequester in the living room and you can call us on one by one.
Yes, that will be fine.
Lights out. End of scene 2. Lights rise on Narracott and the Spinster in the hall. They're seated across from one another with a small table between them.
Where do you want me to begin?
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, let's begin with your name.
My name is Quinn Arden.
Is Arden your married name?
No, I didn't take Stephen's name when we were married.
Oh, did he have a problem with that?
Does it really matter? Listen, man, I don't know why this is necessary. We all told you already that someone burst through those doors and killed our friend. He dragged her out, and by the time any of us mustered the fucking courage to go after him, they were gone. Why don't you have officers out looking in the woods? What the fuck is your protocol?
Well, my protocol is my business, Mrs. Arden.
He could kill again before you decide to do anything.
It would seem he already has. Now, tell me about Parker.
What? What about Parker? Stephen and I met him in college.
What did you study?
UNO.
Oh, New Orleans. Oh, nice school. Oh, what was your major?
English.
Oh, and Stevens?
Engineering. Listen, are we done here? I feel like you're not taking this seriously.
Well, the story seems a little fantastic. A claim of 2 murders, but only 1 body present.
I already told you, the goddamn murderer took Nadine with him.
You maintain that the killer was a male? Did you
No.
see his face?
His face was covered.
So it could have been a woman.
Sure, but it was so tall and strong. He picked Nadine up like she weighed nothing.
All right. That will be all, Mrs. Arden. You may join the others in the living room. Please send in Donovan Arden.
A dark figure appears at the upstage door. It knocks and moves out of sight. Detective Narracott stands and moves towards the back door. As he reaches it, the scientist enters.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, Mr. Arden. Please have a seat.
If you don't mind me saying, this whole thing feels a little unorthodox. We all saw the same thing.
Are you familiar with the standard interrogation?
Is that what this is?
More or less. It's important to gather the facts.
You pissed Quinn off. She thinks you're not taking this seriously.
What if I told you that there are police everywhere outside?
Are there?
Would it ease your mind?
It would.
Then yes. Now, please, sit down. What is your relation to your host?
She's my sister.
Older? Younger? Twins?
Older, 2 years.
Do you like her husband, Stephen?
He's nice.
So you have no issue with their marriage?
No, I do.
Oh?
My sister's a bitch, bro. She treats him like garbage.
Oh. Well, what was your relationship with Nadine?
I didn't know her that well. Met her at a party or two before. I flirted with her, but she's a lesbian, so I backed off, out of respect.
Don't you mean she was a lesbian?
Sure. I guess I hadn't thought about it.
How are you holding up, Donovan?
What do you mean? I watched her die. And Parker, he was my friend.
You seem very calm.
Quinn and I were raised not to show emotion publicly.
She was very nearly on the verge of tears when I spoke to her.
Well, she was never good at stifling her feelings. But our mother insisted it wasn't a good look.
Oh, well, tell me about your mother.
Come on, detective. What does any of this have to do with it?
Just answer the question, Mr. Arden.
It wasn't a question. It was a statement. What do you want to know?
She's still living?
No.
How did she die?
She was in hospice.
So, natural causes.
I don't think so.
But your sister does.
Why would you think that?
Well, something she said.
I think there was foul play. I blamed Quinn for a while. She set up the hospice care, and I didn't agree with the company she decided to go with. She swears it was natural.
Well, what makes her so sure?
Our mother was a cold, relentless woman. If the nurses weren't treating her properly, it's because that old bitch didn't take her medication. Quinn's words.
Was there a significant inheritance after your mother's death?
Our father had left her a shitload of money, yeah. It's partly how they got this house. That and Stephen has a quality job.
Well, that'll be fine, Mr. Arden. Please send in Ellen Bar-Lenore.
May I sit?
Oh, please.
Donovan said you have police around the perimeter. Any sign of Nadine?
I've not heard.
Is someone going to come for Parker's body?
Well, eventually. Things are officially in motion, and this is now a crime scene.
Of course. I won't pretend to understand your methods. It's your job, not mine.
What is your job, Ms. Bar-Lenore?
Call me Ellen.
Oh, of course.
I teach German, French, and Spanish at Orleans High.
Oh, a lover of language.
I was a linguistics major at UNL.
Always with the intention of teaching?
Not exactly. I thought it might be useful for the military.
I imagine it would be.
But things rarely worked out as planned.
Quinn mentioned you belong to the same fraternity.
It's how we met, yes.
Which?
Sigma Omicron Nu. It was co-ed.
Did you all belong?
Not Donovan. He didn't go to college.
But the rest of you?
Yes.
That bond must be strong.
It is as with any fraternity or sorority.
Well, tell me about your relationship with Nadine.
She was genuine. At the start, she was much more Quinn's friend than mine, but we eventually grew close.
Genuine? It doesn't seem like Quinn's type.
Quinn is obsessed with archetypes. I guess she was intrigued by the idea of a lesbian being in our circle.
It seems closed-minded.
To say the least.
Do you consider yourself more open-minded than the rest of your friends?
It might be safe to say. They're not exactly bigots, but they're also not exactly...
Woke?
Precisely.
Why do you still make it a point to be their friend, Ellen?
If I'm being entirely honest, it's comfortable.
Longevity is not enough to sustain a relationship, though I often find that it does make people overlook how toxic a relationship really is.
The way out isn't always clear.
Did you love Nadine?
Yes, I did. I do.
And Parker?
Well, no.
That'll be all, Ellen. Thank you. Please send in Jesse Carter. Oh, Ellen, there is one more thing.
Yes?
Mrs. Arden made mention of a girl you all used to know, Lillian something or another.
She mentioned Lillian?
Yes. I just want to know, was Lillian a part of Sigma Omicron Nu?
For a brief period. Not for long.
Thank you, Ms. Barlenor.
Can't imagine there's anything I can tell you that the rest of them haven't already covered.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Whatever. This whole thing is strange to me.
In what way?
Just one. For starters, you show up alone. Secondly, you don't seem to believe that a murder took place here, even though the floor is covered in blood and our friend's body is in the next room. Why won't you let us leave? Why hasn't a coroner arrived? What the hell is with this interrogation? What are you getting at?
Just trying to get a clear understanding of your squad, Mr. Carter.
Our squad? Who taught you how to talk to us millennials, detective?
What was your major at UNO?
What makes you think I went there?
Didn't you?
You've done your homework. You already know.
Yeah, just going off what the others have mentioned.
Art history.
What drew you to Sigma Omicron Nu?
The boys were hot,
Oh, seems a valid reason.
right?
I'm guessing Quinn wanted to keep you around because you're gay?
I'm not gay.
Well, I just assumed.
Never assume. You should have learned that in your Millennial 101 class. While men are what I'm primarily attracted to, my attention has been caught by the occasional female.
Why the quotations?
Because gender is a social construct that I don't much believe in. What's funny?
Well, your friend Ellen suggested that she was the most forward-thinking of the group. No, seems likely that it's you.
No, she's right. I'm only interested in progressiveness when it directly affects me.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, I couldn't care less about racial equality, women's rights, or people with disabilities. I'm joking. Lighten up. This sense of humor of mine does cause some tension, though.
What sort of tension?
What the fuck sort of tension do you think? Racist, white feminist, privileged. All words Ellen uses to describe me.
And you disagree with those adjectives?
Not necessarily. I don't deny my privilege, and I am admittedly grateful for it.
And admittedly racist?
I don't think so. I laugh at racist jokes. They're classic. Where do you draw the line when it comes to comedy?
Well, perhaps at the point where it harmfully stereotypes an entire people?
To each their own. My daddy's racist, not me.
Oh, I see. Well, did you find much luck with Sigma Omicron Nu? I mean, romantically?
Once I was in, I became aware that dating within the fraternity was discouraged.
And you stayed?
The parties were lit. Lit means fun. Your generation's version of swell.
Yeah, I see.
At any rate, I made a fine group of friends.
Just fine?
They're a bunch of shits, if you want the honest truth. But they're my people.
What can you tell me about Lillian?
Who?
It's my understanding she was also a part of Sigma Omicron Nu?
Probably. The frat wasn't just the 6 of us. It was huge. I can't be expected to remember everyone.
So there's no significance to the name Lillian?
I think, detective, that whoever you're referring to is easily forgotten.
Thank you, Jesse. That'll be all.
You don't want to know my relations with the deceased?
Is there anything you wish to disclose?
I think Nadine was a bitch. Never liked her.
So she got what she deserved.
What a terrible thing to say.
And Parker?
Nothing to report. We were friends, enjoyed the occasional toke, but there wasn't really much to the character. Poorly written, if you ask me.
Well, thank you, Mr. Carter. Now, if you'll please send in Mr. Stephen Wick.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Yeah, please. Sit down, Mr. Wick.
Of course.
This is a lovely home you have.
Thank you. It belonged to my grandparents.
Oh, they're deceased now?
My grandfather, yes. My grandmother is in assisted living.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's the perfect place for a murder, wouldn't you say?
It's the perfect place for a murder mystery party. I mean, I could do without the bloodshed.
Do you and your wife host parties often?
She's been known to throw them before.
Is this the first time that you've thrown a murder mystery party?
Yes. My wife is an author. She wrote a script and a plot for the evening.
Oh, how exciting. It's a shame this tragedy occurred.
To say the least.
What is it that you do, Mr. Wick?
I'm an aeronautical engineer.
And you met your wife at the University of New Orleans?
Yes, we took the same college level composition class.
Tell me more about that.
We were paired off. We were asked to co-write a love story. She took the reins for sure, but we did find common ground.
Which was?
Well, she suggested we utilize the 5 love languages in our piece. We each took the test and discovered our love languages were the same. Quality, time, and words of affirmation. Naturally, spending time together on the project made for a romantic atmosphere. It was just a natural click.
Interesting.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, some of the others painted your relationship in a more toxic light.
That's ridiculous. We have our arguments, yes, but the love is very real.
Well, I have no reason to doubt you. When did the arguments begin?
It's not easy to say.
What can you tell me about an old friend of your wife's, a woman named Lillian?
Yes. I remember. She belonged to our fraternity at UNO, but only for a brief period. There were some complications.
What sort of complications?
I'm struggling to remember. Between the workload in her classes and the parties being thrown every night, my memory's cloudy. But I recall there being disagreements on Lillian's behalf.
And these disagreements led to complications.
To say the least.
Oh, so say the most.
There were accusations that well, look, it's not easy to say out loud. They weren't true, at least my memory of them. I respect the girl's experience and apologize wholeheartedly, but those sort of things, those sort of accusations stick to a man, despite whether they're accurate or not.
What exactly is it that Lillian said you did, Stephen?
Okay, what does any of this have to do with the deaths of Nadine and Parker?
Just putting together some pieces.
Pieces to what? Do you think the murders had anything to do with Lillian?
In fact, Mr. Wick, I'm quite sure of it. You may join the others. I'll be in shortly.
Detective, we've all made mistakes that haunt us. Well, you must believe me when I say that if for a second I thought I was harming that girl, I wouldn't have continued. I was sure there was consent.
Did the word yes ever leave her mouth?
The general looks down ashamedly, then exits. Lights out. End of Act 1. The lights rise on the spinster, general, doctor, actor, and scientist, all entering the hall.
Detective!
He said he'd be right in.
Yeah, well, that was like 15 minutes ago.
Detective!
Maybe he's with the cops? Guys, I'm seeing no cops' cars anywhere.
Donovan, you said he told you the place was surrounded.
He did.
Did anyone check his goddamn badge?
Holy shit.
Are you suggesting he wasn't actually a cop?
I called the police. I know the call went through.
Okay, then that means they're on their way. If he wasn't actually a detective, then the real cops are on their way.
I knew that shit didn't add up. No cop shows up alone, ever.
Does that mean he's the killer?
He must be. What was that interrogation? Some sick game?
He knew things.
He asked me about Lillian.
What?
He told me you brought up Lillian.
I did not.
He asked me about Lillian too. He told me these murders had something to do with her.
Look at the goddamn mess you got us in, Stephen.
Who is Lillian?
Don't worry about it.
If my life's at stake, I think I have a goddamn right to know.
Tell him, Stephen. Tell him what you made us do.
Don't you dare try to pin this on him.
Quinn, it's fine. If the events of that night are relevant, then I think it's best everyone knows what's up.
But you didn't do anything wrong.
Not according to that poor girl.
You shut up, bitch!
Quinn, stop it! Elena's right.
What did you do, Stephen?
Our junior year, Quinn and I got into a huge fight. A lot of hurtful things were said, and eventually we decided that we should take a break. Later that week, Jesse was in charge of throwing a party to celebrate the end of the fall semester.
It was incredible.
Not for Lillian, it wasn't.
I had a hard semester already. Okay, my classes kicked my ass, and with the things being so rocky with Quinn, I indulged a lot at that party. I don't really remember much, but I do remember being on a couch with Lillian and us talking for what felt like forever. She was very touchy, constantly resting her hand on my leg or giving me what I thought were playful shoves. Somehow we ended up in my room and I was kissing her neck. By the time it all caught up with me, I stopped because I started to think about Quinn. It made me sad. I didn't want to be with another woman, but Lillian was so beautiful. And she seemed so interested in me. I needed that feeling. I woke up the next morning to Nadine screaming at me. She was telling me to get up. The cops were in the room, police were crowded outside of my room, and I can see Lillian there. Her makeup was smeared, and I can tell she'd been crying. I didn't know what was going on, and police took me into custody. They didn't tell me anything until we were at the station, and when they did tell me what Lillian had said, I couldn't believe it. I have no memory of it, I swear.
We know you don't, baby.
I don't. How can you, as a woman, deny that girl's experience?
Because I know my husband. He's not an aggressive man. He's sweet and gentle. And the idea that he could have raped someone like Lillian.
What do you mean, someone like Lillian?
Give it up, Ellen. You know that girl was a fucking slut who threw her legs open for anybody that wanted a taste.
Slut-shaming to justify your husband's offense? What the hell is wrong with you? What kind of woman would even
don't give me
suggest—
that shit! That girl was a sneaky little bitch! She pressed those charges against Stephen as some sort of sick little game because she hated me!
Classic Quinn, making it all about you.
High key, it is about me! When she was accepted to Sigma Omicron Nu, she was so far up my ass that I couldn't take a shit for fear it would be her ugly face staring back at me. That girl wanted to be me. That's why she chose me to be her big. And it's not like I could say no. I cut my hair, she cut hers. I started wearing crop top sweaters, and the next thing you know, she is too. I set my sights on Stephen. And the first chance she gets, she starts making passes at him. I'm telling you what I think happened that night. I think he was so drunk he couldn't get hard. Passed out. I think that pissed her off and she took it personally because she was so fucking insecure. I think she thought that pressing charges against Stephen would drive a bigger wedge between us, but it did just the opposite. It sent me right back to him because I knew in my goddamn heart that there was no way in hell that this man could have done that.
What happened to Lillian after it all?
The school sided with Stephen. She dropped out and blocked us all on social media before having a psychiatric breakdown and ending up getting herself admitted.
Not all social media. She still watches my Snapchat story.
Why didn't you delete her?
Because she loves the attention, that's why.
Shut up, Jesse.
No, you shut up, Ellen.
What can these murders possibly have to do with Lillian, though? Do you think she's killing us because Stephen got away with it?
He didn't get away with anything.
You never allowed any of us to even have an opinion on the matter. You shoved the ideas down our throats that Stephen is innocent, but I have always wondered.
So he may have been a little too touchy. Women are so sensitive these days. How is a man even supposed to make a move without ruffling feathers?
Ruffling feathers? Are you kidding me right now?
Guys.
Don't listen to them, baby.
But what if it's true, Quinn? I was so blacked out that night that I couldn't be sure of anything that happened. What if I did go too far? What if I hurt that girl and then she was left publicly shamed with no one doing anything to help her or corroborate her story?
Shut up, Stephen, shut up! I will not have my goddamn reputation sullied by being married to a rapist!
Your goddamn reputation is all that matters to you, Quinn. That's why we're in this situation. I think someone knows the truth about what went down between Stephen and Lillian, and I think we're all guilty by association.
It's got to be something else. It has to be. What else did the detective ask? There must be something else.
He asked about Lillian.
Me too.
Jesus Christ.
He asked about Mom.
What?
He asked about Mom.
I heard you. What about her?
How she died, about foul play.
Why would he ask that, Donovan?
I brought her up.
Is this relevant? Can we get back to the Lillian thing, please? It's obviously the common thread between us all.
Not me. I didn't know her. I've never even heard that name before.
So where do you fit into all this?
I already told you all. He's guilty by association.
But Nadine and Lillian were friends. Nadine met that girl in Calc and talked her into pledging.
Did they stay friends after the allegations?
I don't know. I think I remember Nadine saying things were awkward and that Lillian mentioned resenting Nadine for still hanging out with us. But it's not like Lillian just disappeared. Like Ellen said, she still watches her story.
Exactly. She's a pathetic girl who is desperate for attention and tried to ruin a good man's life. And my life. This is insane.
She makes her way toward the upstage door.
We are guilty of nothing. That detective is probably some loser Lillian convinced to exact her revenge, which, again, is fucking insane. We are not the bad guys. We are the victims. All of us.
She pulls out a cigarette and puts her hand on the doorknob.
And I'll be damned if I let some jealous bitch get the best of me.
She opens the door and the same masked figure from before is there. It raises a knife and brings it down on the spinster's head. She falls to her knees, dead. The murderer flees. The scientist and the actor run to the coat room. The doctor runs to the dining room. The general rushes to the spinster's body. Lights out. End of scene 1. Lights rise on the coat room where the scientist and the actor are hiding.
We have to figure out a way to get out of here.
What about the police?
They aren't coming.
What do you mean? Ellen said she called them.
Well, they'd be here by now. We have to make a break for it. We have to get out of here while we still can.
The goddamn killer is out there, though.
Where did Stephen and Ellen go?
Who fucking cares? I'm only worried about myself. If those idiots want to take their chances, so be it. But I'm staying by your goddamn side in case that crazy motherfucker shows up again.
Lights fade on the coat room and rise on the hall, where the doctor is exiting the dining room. She approaches the general.
I called the police again. Apparently they went to the wrong house. They should be here in the next 20 minutes.
Do you think Quinn felt a lot of pain?
I don't know. It could have been instantaneous, but I honestly don't know.
She didn't deserve this. None of us do.
The scientist and the actor creep into the hall.
Is he gone?
It looks like he fled. We should close the door just in case. The police are on their way right now. They went to the wrong house.
Idiots.
Steven, I'm so sorry.
Too.
She loved you. It was clear. And you were a great husband to her.
Was I? I don't know how many great husbands are haunted by the allegations of having raped somebody.
Well, you didn't do it, right? Or at least that's the story you're sticking to?
Not now, Jesse.
Why not? This is all his fault anyways. And Quinn's. I'm sure if she hadn't been such a bitch about the whole thing.
That's enough.
If you knew the shit that she said.
I said that's enough!
She didn't handle it eloquently. She publicly shamed the shit out of that girl. No, I agree with Jesse. Quinn is to blame.
Quinn hung onto my every word. She believed my account 100%. I did do it.
What?
I didn't remember it right away, but when I was at the police station, it came back to me, and I couldn't bear it. So I shoved it down and convinced Quinn that I was innocent, knowing that she would be better at convincing everyone else.
Jesus, Steven.
I wanted to admit it. I wanted to make it right, but I couldn't. All I could think about was my future, my career, finishing school, Sigma Omicron Nu, and of course Quinn.
You piece of shit. If I die because you violated that girl?
She did lead me on. She took me to the room and was all over me. But when I took it out...
Well, what?
She laughed at me, at my size.
Jesus Christ.
And that infuriated you, didn't it? You're a pig.
I'm out of here.
You can't go. The police will be here soon, and how's it going to look if you fled?
Ellen is right. It's safer if we just remain put.
That's ridiculous.
The general stands and starts off stage.
Where do you think you're going?
To get my gun.
You had a gun this whole goddamn time and you didn't say anything?
We don't need a gun. You're just going to end up getting us into more trouble. Please, Steven, the police will be here soon.
What sort of maniac are we dealing with here? You think you fucking know someone.
If Steven has a gun, I'll personally feel safer.
Does he even know how to operate a gun?
I assume he's been trained. At any rate, it can't do us any harm.
What the hell?
Oh my God.
The doctor rushes off. The upstage door flies open and the masked murderer enters.
Please, sir. We are terribly sorry for what happened to Lillian. We are, but killing us is not the answer. If we had known that Steven was guilty, we would have excommunicated him instead of her.
If it's any consolation, I didn't even know Lillian existed until tonight. I understand the position you're in. What Steven did is unforgivable. Please, spare us and we will tell the police everything.
The murderer steps to the side and motions toward the open door, as if to invite the scientist and the actor to leave. The scientist slowly makes his way towards the door, being extremely cautious of the murderer's movements. He clears the way and makes it outside.
Come on, Jesse! He's exonerating us! We can escape!
Please, Mr. Killer, you have to let Ellen go too. None of us knew. We didn't know.
He starts toward the door, and when he reaches it, the murderer grabs him by the throat. The scientist bolts out of sight as the doctor returns.
Steven killed himself!
She stops when she sees what's happening. The murderer drags the actor further into the room and closes the door behind him.
Did Donovan escape?
There's a knock on the door, and the doctor answers it. Enter the servant. The murderer drops the actor to the ground as he gasps for breath.
What the fuck?
Surprise! The servant did it.
Classic.
Jesse, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Harris, Lillian's father.
What is this, Nadine? We watched you die.
Theatrics, fam? You and 100 audience members could have watched the same death and no one would know it was fake if it were done right.
But why?
Haven't we covered that by now? You needed to be punished for what you made that poor girl and her family endure.
So you were in on this, Ellen?
In on it. It was her idea.
Nadine and I visited Lillian in the hospital after her breakdown. That poor girl was so far gone. She had no sense of what was real and what wasn't anymore. But when she talked about Stephen, it was coherent. I knew she was telling the truth.
And so that's why Stephen's indiscretion, Quinn's denial, and Parker's silence.
But I didn't know. I swear I didn't.
Maybe not. But the real issue I have with you, Jesse, is that you couldn't care less any other way. You only care because of how it's affected you this evening.
For how long after the incident did you make jokes about Stephen being a rapist, despite how uncomfortable it made us all feel?
In what way is that funny to you?
You know me, though. You know I have a depraved sense of humor. Where do you draw the line?
How about where it fucking devalues the pain and suffering of someone who did nothing to you?
How about where it shames a victim?
How about there?
So what are you going to do? Kill me?
I'm not.
Me neither.
But I am.
We're not the killers. We killed no one. And once you're dead, Mr. Harris will leave, and as far as we're concerned, he was never here.
But the police are on their way.
Are they?
Did you call them?
There's a house full of corpses who died thinking I did.
So who are you pinning this on?
We would have pinned it on Stephen, but Donovan was here.
That's right. He's free. He's out there probably informing the cops now, and he'll know you didn't really call them.
That's fine. He wasn't guilty, so there's no reason for him to die. And his accounts of this evening are parallel with ours. Also, the telephone has been rerouted so that all outgoing calls go to the pool house. The police will discover that and assume that the person who received my calls was the murderer, the mysterious detective who interrogated us. So again, Donovan's story will corroborate with ours. The last thing he saw was the murderer grab you by the throat. So I'm sure he's assuming you're dead. And by the time he comes back with the cops, you will be.
But he'll respond when he sees Nadine.
We'll take care of that.
She nods, and the murderer stabs the servant in the side. The servant falls to the floor, and the doctor crouches down beside her, cradling her body.
Shh, baby, it'll be okay. You'll be okay, I promise.
Kill him!
With pleasure.
He launches himself on top of the actor and begins to stab him mercilessly in the back. Finally, he lifts his head by the hair and slits his throat. The actor falls over, dead.
Get out of here. We'll contact you when this settles.
Thank you. I finally feel like our family can have some closure.
No, thank you. Neither Nadine nor myself could have pulled this off without you. They needed to be punished. Now go.
Narracott exits through the upstage door, and the lights start to fade on the doctor and the servant. The sound of sirens can be heard softly, but are drowned out by the rising sound of the musicians' orchestra. And so our story comes to an end. 4 villains slain and 2 remain. Are the remaining heroes or victims in their own right? Or are they more monstrous than the deceased? It's really rather subjective, don't you think? That's the tricky thing about murder. Are the circumstances under which it becomes a heroic action? Must we rely on some judicial authority to distribute justice, or are there instances in which we must take the law into our own hand? Do those who so negatively affect the lives of others deserve to have their own lives ruined in a similar manner? If we validate their quality of life, does it invalidate the quality of life of the victim? That decision, my friends, is yours to make. Heed my warning, however. The guilt we keep buried down, it has a troubling way of resurfacing, and the people we choose to divulge in may not always have our best interests in mind, especially if it proves contrary to their own interests. That is the classic conundrum of trust, for it is not abounding. It is infinite, if it ever really existed at all.